This is KGW News at noon.
Thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Drew Carney, and we have new details this afternoon about the death of a local 2-year-old. The child's father just appeared in court on first-degree murder charges. Portland police say 31-year-old Gustavo Villalobos Carranza turned himself in yesterday. The 2-year-old girl's mom called police yesterday to report that the father had taken their child and was threatening to harm her. He was arrested in Vancouver, but the 2-year-old was found dead in Portland. We have more on the story at KGW.com, and we'll continue our coverage later today on the news at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, the Portland Thorns are in the news today after announcing the hiring of a new general manager. Former player Karina LeBlanc, there you see her, who played goalie for the Thorns back in 2013 and helped them win a league championship that season, has replaced Gavin Wilkinson as the team's GM. Among her achievements since retiring from playing in 2015, LeBlanc started her own foundation that's aimed at empowering young girls and women through soccer. Gavin Wilkinson, meanwhile, was placed on leave last month as the team's general manager because of a pending investigation into how the Thorns handled sexual harassment allegations made by former players. Those former players say Coach Paul Riley sexually harassed them, and team management didn't do enough to stop him. The organization says Wilkinson will remain the general managers of the Timbers. The allegations made by the former players, meanwhile, and the ongoing investigation made national headlines. And we have more coverage of the issue right now on our website, KGW.com. Oregon health officials say COVID cases are declining, but hospitals across the state are still stretched thin. OHSU told staff last week that the emergency department is at capacity right now, but it's not because of an overwhelming number of COVID cases. KGW's Alma McCarty explains.
More than a year and a half into the pandemic, and the conditions inside hospitals are dire as ever. OHSU alerting its team this week to yet another capacity situation, noting a critical lack of ICU beds and more patients than ever before admitted to the emergency department. Per the notice, OHSU is diverting patients to other hospitals, assessing all surgical cases in the operating rooms, and seeking out more nurses. Dave Northfield with the Oregon Association for Hospitals and Health Systems explains how these new challenges aren't unique to just one hospital or even one area.
Oregon has the lowest per capita hospital bed count of any state in the country. Generally, that's a good thing, actually, because we have a very efficient system. But when you take that same system and add a pandemic on top of it, and add all those resources, and then layer on a staffing crisis, it creates a really terrible situation. And that's what we've been seeing for the last couple months.
Keep in mind, the Delta variant played a big role in the surge, but not every one of these current hospitalizations is related to COVID.
There are patients who have maybe delayed care during the pandemic, and then they're showing up now, and their conditions are more severe, so they might be staying in the hospital longer.
Add in a severe staffing shortage. Recent national data shows 1 in 5 healthcare workers left their position or the profession entirely during the pandemic.
It's not as if there are other nurses and other clinicians who are available to hire and come to Portland. There aren't.
Northfield says the immediate goal for all
hospitals are trying to just get through this surge and this capacity crisis any way they can.
Northfield predicts hospitals will be on the other side of the crisis by early 2022. Then he says everyone involved in healthcare needs to take a good long look at how to make these systems better.
Everybody agrees that this is not the last time when we're going to be stretched in this way.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Well, it looks like kids as young as 5 will soon be able to get Pfizer's COVID vaccine. On Friday, the FDA approved the vaccine for children 5 to 11. The CDC is expected to give final approval as early as this week, which will make the shot available to more than 28 million kids.
Obviously, for example, the polls have showed that some parents are going to be hesitant about vaccinating this age group, but that was true for adults at the beginning of the pandemic. There were a large number of people said they would wait and see. So we certainly hope that as people see children getting vaccinated and being protected and being able to participate in activities without concern, that more and more people will get their kids vaccinated.
Testing shows the Pfizer vaccine is almost 91% effective at preventing symptomatic illnesses in children. Pfizer also says its vaccine holds up well against the highly transmissible Delta variant. Portland Public Schools will hold its board meetings virtually through the end of November. This comes after district officials had to move a meeting online last week because activists weren't following meeting rules like keeping face masks on. Those activists say they were angry that the board was considering vaccine mandates for students. The next live-streamed board meeting is set for tomorrow on the Portland Public Schools Communications YouTube page. After a year and a half of protections for renters in Washington, the state's eviction moratorium expired at midnight last night. So this means that Governor Jay Inslee, who really, right after COVID hit, was using emergency power to stop most evictions, that's not going to be happening anymore. That all ends today. And what it does is it opens the door for thousands of evictions in the state of Washington. Although new rules do require landlords go through steps like offering tenants a payment plan before they can evict them. Tomorrow is Election Day in the United States, so let's talk for just a moment here about what's on some of our local ballots. And we're going to start in Washington. In Washington, there are several statewide measures on the ballot. Voters are being asked to weigh in on whether certain state taxes should be maintained or repealed for different services. Also, several judges are up for election in Washington, and people in Clark County are voting on proposed charter amendments. One specific question for voters there is whether certain county positions should become nonpartisan. Depending on what town you live in, you might also be picking school board members and city councilors. There is no statewide election in Oregon this time around. The next one for Oregon is scheduled next May, but some people in Multnomah County do have choices to make tomorrow. And for people living in the Lake Oswego School District or the Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue District, you also have ballot measures to vote on by tomorrow. Today, meanwhile, marks the start of the Latin American holiday Dia de los Muertos, and some people celebrated early in Vancouver this weekend. We were there, as a matter of fact. Each year, people create offerings to honor family members who have passed during this celebration, and this was the first ever celebration held in Vancouver. They had live music, dancing, and food there, and we talked to some of the people who went.
It's long overdue. I've lived here my whole life, and being part of the Hispanic community, I haven't really seen a lot of celebrations of ours being celebrated, but I'm so happy that we got to have this celebration here with the support of so many, City of Vancouver, Artstra, and so many important individuals.
There was also time set aside during the celebration there in Vancouver for anyone who wanted to reflect on a loved one who has died during the pandemic. It is now time during the news at noon to check in with my friend and yours, Mr. Rodney Hill. Rod, what's going on weather-wise today?
Well, two things to talk about. Number one, it's wet. But number two, it's also one of the cooler days that we've had so far this fall. So here's the big radar picture. We have seen a little bit of light rain make it over the Cascades into central Oregon, and then we've got rain. Right now it's more steady from Portland up to the north, starting to break up a little bit as you drop down into the heart of the Willamette Valley. There's Eugene. Salem not showing up, but it would be right here, of course. So you're getting a little bit of a break in the action. There you can see that light rain over Bend and also into Madras. So it still looks like as we get going into 2 and 3 o'clock this afternoon, more and more of us will start to see this rain break up a bit. Here's Cannon Beach live, pretty shot of the waves and the gray skies, and rain is coming down, 52 degrees. And this is a cool shot of some of the low-hanging clouds, and you can see the wet roads on the hill. That's Willamette Valley Vineyards camera just south of Salem. Downtown Portland is at 50, but it was 49, and it's only 47 here in downtown at KGW right now. Temperatures won't do much. I think by 4 o'clock, still some rainy areas, but this evening, if you have plans, it really ought to be dry. Temperature is about 47. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 storm fronts this week. Look at us. We'll track all of that for you coming up with my 7-day.
All right, Rod, thank you. We look forward to seeing you again in the show. But this is one of the stories we're covering next here on the News at Noon. Our continued coverage of Portland's gun violence situation. City leaders understand it's an issue and they're working on solutions right now. So next, we'll go inside their conversations.